We are live. What's up, beasties? It's me, it's Triple B, your friendly neighborhood bearded book beast. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode, the 101st episode of Beast Friends Forever. Woo! I am excited for this show and this guest. This is an awesome author who writes some scary books that I cannot wait to read. They have amazing covers. They sound like so much fun. And talking with this author has been a blast. They're just hilarious. They support a lot of people. And they're just really cool. So I can't wait to talk to them and let you guys get to know them and learn all about their books. I'm talking about, help me welcome my guest, S.S. Fitzgerald. There it is. How we doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Yeah, dude, it's long overdue. Long overdue. I've been wanting to have you on for quite a while, so I'm glad that you are here. So I appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've been watching you pop up. I was like, there's that awkward, like, do I ask to be on it? And I was like, maybe if I just hang out in the background a little bit, somebody will see me. That's why I never did well at nightclubs, right? Like, be in the background. Somebody will find me interesting.
I was the same way. And I mean, yeah, like at clubs, you kind of had to get up in there and make your move to get noticed. But yeah, I was always just hanging back too. But yeah, no. And this is a good time for me to say, because I've had lots of people say that. And like, I am just like a chill dude. So I want to help you guys out. So anybody that watches these and is like, should I ask? Yes, please do. I would love to hear from you. Don't ever feel like you can't. So I'm glad we got this figured out, man. And you got a sweet background there. You've got your awesome logo and your books all there. I have all your books on my Kindle, but I need to get the physical ones, dude. Those are awesome covers. I love them. They look so good.
That. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and plug it right now.
Yeah.
I'm in partnership with the Crafty Bookstore. They're awesome people, independently run group.
Yeah.
And, if you're real into having a physical book of something that you really enjoyed, because I can't be all around the country, they sell my signed copies. So if you're like, man, I really enjoyed, let's just say Alone Together, you want a version of that, you can get a signed one. And I'll even say that if you go the hardcover route, I include extra short stories in the back that are in universe and some artwork as well. So you get a little bit more bang because, I
know what I'm doing after this then.
Yeah, there you go. I just hate how expensive hardcovers are. So I was like, man, anybody who goes out of their way to get a hardcover, they deserve a little bit more.
Yeah, a little extra. Yeah. I love it, man. All right. Well, in the description, SS is can I just call you Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. You can call me Sean or Fitz. Either one.
I have sometimes I feel like I have a little lisp and I'm trying to say SS. I feel like I'm gonna sound like a snake. SS is but Sean's website is linked on there and his books are linked through just the Amazon links. But after this is done, I'll go back in and because I've had some other authors. It's called the
Crafty Bookstore.
Crafty Bookstore. They're doing cool stuff. I've had a few other authors that use them for stuff. So I'll put the link for that in there too, so people can check that out. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're great people.
Ah, very cool. Well, we got a bunch of people in here already, except JA. Come on, man. 4 a.m. You can't stay awake over there in Australia. Come on.
4 a.m. is my wake up time. I'm
right.
Pre-workout at that time period.
JA, it's all right, man. I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for watching the replay. Tim McKay's here. He says round 2 because I just hung out with the Beasties for a little bit and celebrated number 100. And now you are my first triple-digit interview, 101. Pretty exciting stuff. Nathaniel's here. He's not saying boo to you. He's saying boo to something else. But
no, he saw me. He was like, boo. I know what makes him smile. Boo this man.
Ellen Holmes is here. What's up, Ellen? Curran, what's up, man? Thanks for being in here. Timothy Wolf, what's up? Hey, Corvina, how's it going? Thanks for being here. Fellow Dark Veil Society member there. Yes, I actually got Ellen's book on the Crafty Bookstore. Pre-ordered her book through there. So it's a great little company. I'm loving it.
I'm doing an early read for her right now.
Are you? Yeah.
The Floating Castle.
Yes.
about 70% of the way through already. So
oh, nice, killing it. Nice job, man. Yeah, I'm gonna start reading it soon too. I'm excited. It sounds really good. Whoa, Tim. Watch this slander. Love it. Not enough to watch it for him. You just sped home through traffic to make it here in time, you said. So I know you would. Let's see. And yeah, that's all the peeps we got in here. And anybody that's on replay, we appreciate you. Thanks for watching. And if you're in the live stream and you don't like to chat in the comments, that's okay too. We appreciate you being here as well. So why don't you start us off and just tell us what your books are about, and then we'll dive into it more as we go.
Yeah, so I think the overall theme that you're going to get from any one of my stories is going to be a horror theme.
Yeah.
So I do consider myself a horror author. I guess if you wanted to split hairs, A Hold to Extinction is a sci-fi thriller. There's a lot of horror elements to it. I'm in that same group of people that says, if you read the original Jurassic Park novel, it is 100% horror based.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's not listed in the horror genre.
Yep,
and
I agree.
A lot of influence came from that original writing.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I wear it on my sleeve. I think one of my comments or my reviews even said, like, hey, it's not a knockoff of Jurassic Park, but you can definitely tell this guy read Jurassic Park a lot. And that's fair.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Jurassic Park.
Yeah, man, sometimes it hurts my feelings that the movie is so much different than the book, but I also love the movie. So
yeah,
it is
same.
one half the other. I don't do a ton of paranormal. I know that's very popular in the horror genre, but Sinner's Pass was my paranormal introduction. Just wanted to prove to myself I could do it.
Yeah.
And then my more grounded, survival-based type horror is going to be my Alone Together series, which the newest one is coming out here in just a couple days, in 4 days actually. Pre-orders are up, and in a couple days you'll be able to do any number of editions you want to do. So Amazon has their own, Ingram Spark has their own, Barnes and Noble has their own, and then obviously the Crafty Bookstore again. Got to keep shouting them out because they're phenomenal.
Yeah, heck yeah. Awesome stuff. Well, you do have a special thing to share with us that I'm going to show when you're ready. Do you want to show it now, or do you want to show it at the end after we talk about stuff for a while?
Let's hang everybody on a thread and do it right.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. It's pretty awesome. You don't have dinosaurs in there, do you? Does that mean there's dinosaurs in your books? It's because of Jurassic Park stuff.
Yeah, so A Hold to Extinction is a dinosaur book. So yes, you get that.
I keep forgetting. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is dinosaurs in at least one of my stories. And I'll say this, I've kind of blown this cover before, but if you didn't see the other interviews on, I want to say it was already overbooked. There is a link between Alone Together and A Hold to Extinction. That being said, there are no dinosaurs in Alone Together, and there won't be any in the series. But there is, as far as I could say, it's in the same universe.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you really only catch on to it if you pay attention. There's a couple character names that are important, like background. They're never like significant. And then there are short stories that have that kind of tie the connection together. So if you're real into being a completionist, you'll be able to pick up on all the connections.
Oh man, that's cool. That is cool. Now there's no connection with Sinner's Pass to the books, though, is there? To Alone Together?
No, Sinner's Pass is its own thing. I do have a couple projects with some of my colleagues in the Dark Veil Society, and we like to hide Easter eggs about each other's stories in there. So Molly threw one in there for myself and Sean Joste, and then we are working on another project, A Killer Mind, Sean and I, and there are a couple throw-ins of various different novels in there as well.
Yep. LN is reading something that you wrote right now.
Yes, she is. Yeah, so you're going to get a whole bunch of introduction. I feel really bad because J.A. is on right now. He's like, why didn't you tell us any of this in mine? Because I just got off doing an interview with him. And I'm doing a re-release of Sinner's Pass next year. So sometime in the year, I'm going to update some of the cover art. Fixed a couple things that I was like, ooh, that just needs to be corrected, like formatting issues. And then I've added all the short stories that I did for Sinner's Pass in the back. So anybody wants to go and, again, hardcover edition, you get them all grouped in together.
Oh, nice. Okay, so then maybe I'll wait for that to buy a physical copy of Sinner's Pass.
Yeah,
I'll get Alone Together right now, though.
Alone Together is going to be the big one for a
Yeah.
while, just because I feel like I'm jumping ahead of everybody here, but I originally set out like, okay, this is going to be just 8 books, be done. And then when I finished book 3, I was like, man, I'm going to have to take a lot more books to make this series work. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be quite a long series for me.
That's exciting, dude.
It is.
I love a good series.
It's exciting, but at the same time, it's there's a lot of stress that goes into writing a series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is my second attempt at writing a series, and my first one proved to me I wasn't ready. So I say third, I guess it's really my third attempt, but the first 2 proved that I wasn't ready for a series yet.
You feel like you're ready now, though?
Oh yeah, I mean, I hope, because book 2 is on the way.
Yeah, you got book 2 out, and it sounds like you're done with book 3. You said the draft of it.
I'm done with book 4 actually. So
yeah, you're ready for a series then. You got a series.
Yeah, I do. I just want to make sure that everything is lined up. Mm-hmm. And Alone Together, I've said this before, but I'll say it every time I get the chance. It's the most me you're going to get, because there's so many personal experiences that are tied into it. Even though I don't use the real people I've dealt with, so many of their experiences are tied into it to really humanize the characters. And when I wrote book 1, I was like, I mapped everything out, and I decided the easiest way to write this is just write it as one continuous book. So I wrote book 1, 2, and part of 3 just about back to back. And the only reason I didn't finish book 3 at that very moment was I got the edits back for book 1, started doing that process. And that's really all that interrupts the flow, is when I get my next set of edits in, I stop, I go back, and I do those changes. And it really helps in writing the series, because if I realize in book like 3 or 4, I need to emphasize something so it's more brought out when it happens, I can go back and my manuscript's still in works, and I can add those details.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm fortunate that I had an alpha reader point something out in book 1 that was critical for book 3 and 4.
Wow. So
I made that change because I didn't want any of my older readers to think that I was basing it on a very real person.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll also say this, I get a lot of people point out, especially my alpha and betas, that the prologue to the first Alone Together is very unusual. It's intentional. It's a split prologue. You get a short story, and then you get kind of news articles that start rolling in. And those news articles aren't just world building, which they are effective, in my opinion, in doing that.
Yeah.
But they set up events that happen later in the series to be very important. So if you skip over it, the story still makes sense.
Yeah.
But you actually know people that are in the story later in the series if you pay attention to the prologue.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. Very nice. Okay.
Try new things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's you got to do it, man. You got to have fun with it, right? Try different things. So before I have some questions about the series and how you came up with the ideas and all that stuff. But before we do that, let's talk about those sweet covers. So tell us how the process went with finding. Let's focus on Alone Together at first, or you can talk about all of them if you want. But how did you find your cover artist? How did that process go for you? And then working with them to make the cover, was it like where you had the exact idea and they just did it? Was there some back and forth? How did all that go for you?
Yeah, I think this comes down to what any small business owner has to learn just, through experience. And let's start with A Fold to Extinction, just because it was my first one.
Yeah,
I had the idea. I had the idea of what I wanted. And I told her, and she came back with it. And I made some adjustments, but I didn't want to tell her, like, this is not at all what I wanted, right? Because it was functional. I'm like, okay, I see it. I understood the limitations that she had.
Yeah.
But it wasn't exactly what I wanted. And I don't think I'm ever going to go back and redo it, just because it is kind of tied to what people think of when they see it, or excuse me, A Fold to Extinction.
Right. Because it's been there for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is what it is. What I intended to do, it would be the opposite. I wanted it to be like you were inside the mouth and you just saw the teeth looking at the island.
Oh, yeah.
But, we got kind of the opposite version of that. So if anybody isn't familiar with what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
You get this one. You can kind of see the teeth. You can see how she took my interpretation of what I was saying and changed it. Fine, it's functional. I'm happy with it. For a first cover, I think it's the background work.
Yeah.
Then we go on to Sinner's Pass. I changed artists. I decided to reach out to somebody new there, and I gambled. And this person didn't do what I had asked them to do, because I said, if you've heard my other podcast, I'm not into using generative AI for anything. And the covers that they presented, they gave me 3 of them. I could tell that they were all AI because there was things that just didn't make sense.
Oh yeah.
And because the way the contract was, I'd already it didn't breach the contract. So I chose one and took that, and I went to another artist and I said, look, I'm in a hard spot here because I already have a date. I need to get this out, but it is unrepresentative of what I want to be as an author. So I gave her an idea. I said, I have this skull, make it a window like you're looking through it, which is turned out phenomenal. And for anybody who gets the physical copy, this is what we're talking about. You get the skull that's looking in. It hides the AI elements that were in there.
Oh, that's nice.
So
I love that. I love that cover, man.
I get more comments on that cover than anything else. So I think it really hit it. And that kind of set, I think, what my branding is going to be for a while, which I really like the silhouette /
Yes, I love the silhouettes you do, man.
Yeah. I was like, man, this is just so cool. So I sketched up my next one myself because I wanted Alone Together to be exactly the way I imagined everything. And I wanted it kind of, people who read the story, I want them to be able to go back and point out, like,
look at it. Oh,
these are the moments here. So going into Alone Together, I drew this up, and instead of reaching out to a cover artist, I reached out to an artist that does horror art for figures, and I just had him do just the art itself.
That's cool.
That's what he came up with, and it pretty much gets exactly what I wanted from the art that I drew and sketched myself.
Yeah.
And that skyline that's in the background, it's the city of Tallahassee, which is where the event happens, and it's my hometown currently. So so that actually is, if you're in the Florida area, that would be looking down Appalachia at the Capitol, right in the middle of the female character. And then those are all actual buildings in the city. And it was very representative of everything I wanted. And that just kind of evolved into, the most recent one that's coming up. We keep the same elements. We get the same characters on the left and right. And then I introduce the 2 new characters in the middle. So when you read through the story, you'll go back and I know who that is. I know who that is. And I know all the events that are happening. And the house is super critical to what happens near the end of the story. So when you get there, you'll be like, that's that moment.
Oh, that's cool, man. I do love that. I love that on when books have either like internal art or the cover tells a story from something in the book. I love being able to get to that part and then go back and look and be like, oh yeah, that's cool, dude. I love that.
Yeah. I'll also, as I find this for you, is I got to thank Blake Myers, who is also a DVS.
Oh yeah.
He helped me with the branding for it. So he helped me with the technical side, making my branding right.
Yeah.
And you'll see that it stays more cohesive along with Alone Together. But if you are a big advent of following me on social media, the back also has, the back has my 8-bit art. Now, when I share it online, it's moving. The characters are breathing. The fires are burning. Things like that. But you get that.
That's so cool.
You get a little bit of that, and that also really inspired a lot of the art early on. Just working with different artists, seeing what did and didn't work.
That's so cool, man. I love it. I love your covers, dude. You're killing it for sure.
Thank you. I think I do better making cover art and making trailers than I do writing books sometimes.
I don't think that's true. I've heard really good things about your writing too. I'm excited to check it out. So then book 2, you kind of did the same process as you did with Alone Together, the first book?
Cover art, yes. So I'm going to stick with my artist for a while because he gets it and he understands it. That being said, because I'm paying just for the art, there's a little bit of like, I have to do everything else. But now that I know what I'm doing, how things work, I'm finding it easier to control my branding that way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot less finagling, and just having the art itself enables me to make advertisements that are on brand and themed, and it's been much easier that way.
That's so true. I didn't think about that. That makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Oh, it's way easier. And like, so if you follow my newsletter, this month I released Alone Together themed cocktails. So the first one came out this month, and the next two are going to come out in October and November. Mm-hmm. And I say October, I backdate my newsletters. So this upcoming, the end of October on Halloween, you'll get my second drink, and then November, you'll get my third drink. But I was able to actually use the art properly without, coming back to a cover artist and be like, I need you to strip this section outside.
Right. Yeah, that comes in handy. Being able to do that.
Things I didn't know getting into it, but now.
Oh yeah, you don't think about all that extra branding type of fun stuff you can do. You're just worried about the book at the time, right?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's what I'm supposed to be worried about. Right?
Yeah. But all the cool stuff that you're doing on the side, that helps make connections and bring new readers in. So I think that's awesome that you're doing that. That's good. All right, awesome stuff. So the books, you kind of talked about how your first book had a lot to do with your love of Jurassic Park and all of that. And then Center's Pass, you talked a little bit how you wanted to prove that you could do that, more of the supernatural type horror stuff. How did the idea for Alone Together come about?
I mean, the nugget for Alone Together was there since I was in high school. My friend and I have a really good buddy. He went Marine Corps. I went my different route, went Army. But we were always very obsessed with all the different zombie movies, zombie media, and just in general. And we always talked about like what we would want in a movie or a story, because we both read World War Z, absolutely adored that. Mm-hmm. We were obsessed with the Resident Evil genres. And then very, very heavily invested in all the different movies, especially the Romero movies, and then the 2004 remake. And then, I'd be remiss not to mention 28 Days Later and how we just absolutely loved that. Mm-hmm. We even had a stupid game as a kid where we called it Infection, which is just essentially tag, but like one person started as the zombie, and then instead of like somebody else becoming it, everybody became it. So eventually you get one person that was left over. We were idiots back then, but it was fun.
Oh man, that is awesome.
So that, this idea was always brewing back then. And there was a time period where zombie media kind of just went into this lull because there's too much of it. Yeah. I think when you start seeing comedy versions of anything come out, it's a sign that people are getting tired of it, which is fine. It gave me time to reflect and think about how I wanted to do it. One of my first attempts at writing was a Resident Evil inspired story, but it was so amateurish. I don't think I'll ever go back to doing trying to refix it, just because it'd be easier just to rewrite it.
Right.
At this point, it would feel like a cheap knockoff of Alone Together.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I start writing. I have my military experience with me, and I would definitely say that COVID was a eye opener, because I was still in the Army at the time period, and we were activated and we were doing unusual things for COVID. I have I could waste 3 hours just telling you about the weird things that happened in the military with COVID.
I can only imagine, man.
But that really shaped the way I saw the military, especially in that type of disaster. And I was like, well, one of the big things that I hate in the zombie movies or games is how the military is one of two things. They're either overpowered or they're complete imbeciles or useless. And neither one of them is a reality to, what happened.
That's so true. Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm going to write a zombie story, or a zombie-ish story. Because if you're looking for like the Walking Dead type thing, they're technically not dead. They're infected like 28 days later.
Yeah.
So I started getting into survival forums and zombie forums. And I was really just looking for what people liked, what people didn't like, and then ciphering out things that didn't make sense, that were terrible. And I came to a conclusion. There's a couple cliches that people enjoy, because if you're a genre writer, cliches are kind of important. And there's a couple that are kind of story breaking, where people get tired of it because it's so used up, it doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, right.
One of the big ones is they're in a zombie apocalypse, but you've never seen a zombie movie before. So there's characters that even make that joke early on, like, yeah, these are zombies. And then they argue, like, technically they're still alive. So and they go back and forth with it.
I love that.
So, that was the meta kind of reference to that. And I shaped how Alone Together came to be based off, what I wanted from being a young, enthusiastic zombie lover, my military experience, my disaster recovery experience, because I responded to no less than 15 disasters in my short amount of time that I was serving.
That's a lot.
Then my experience from writing Sinner's Pass enabled me to make the characters the way I needed them to be, because one of the feedback I got from a reviewer in A Full to Extinction was a lot of the background characters didn't have anything that defined them, which is fine to me. Like, they were just reasons to have dinosaurs eat people.
Right.
I'm being honest, it is what it is. So I wanted to make sure that when I wrote Sinner's Pass, I could give every person depth. And then I just carried that over into Alone Together, where every character is somebody. It's a lived-in world. You don't feel like this is just happening to happen. And then I wanted to make sure there was never a questionable moment where you're like, the only reason something happened was because somebody's an idiot, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know. I know Ellen Holmes is on. One of the things that I absolutely hate about like Game of Thrones is the entire show ends if Ned just is honest in season 1, episode 1, or book 1, and tells his adopted son, like, hey, yo, you're not really my son. This has just been a cover story. The entire thing falls apart and nobody dies anymore.
Yeah.
But instead we get an entire empire that falls apart around him.
I know, it's so true.
Yeah, because of a poor lie.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that never happened. Like, everything, if somebody makes a bad decision, it's because they're making it with the right intelligence at the time period. And you get crappy people, right? So I have, especially in book 1, there's a character that's just detestable, but some people are like that. And I based it off people I actually dealt with in the military. So I never felt like we were having those type of moments. And I'm trying to keep it grounded like that there is no, this is happening just because it needs to happen type of thing.
Yeah.
That was a very long-winded way of answering your question.
No, I love it, man. You're the star of the show. I love to hear your answers. That's what I was looking for. That's a good deep reason and why you did it. I love it. That's awesome. All right. So would you consider, like, the Alone Together, do you feel like when you wrote it, is it more like character focused? Is it atmospheric, where like the city and the atmosphere and the story are the focus? Which would you say, or is it all of it together? You just feel like you focused on all of it the same?
So I kind of made my own method of telling the overarching story, and I found out how to do this by accident when I wrote the first book and I started the second one, when I figured out where to stop book 1, start book 2. It is more character driven. Because there's a lot of moments where it has nothing to do with the outbreak that's happening. It's the character, and sometimes it's way before the moments. I don't do flashbacks, but there are moments where characters are reflecting on their relationships.
Right. Yeah.
You'll never get flashbacks from me, by the way. I don't do them. I feel like it takes people out, and I've heard too many readers say that they hate them. So no negative feelings if you are like that. Just not my thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, but Alone Together is told into 3 different categories of storytelling. You're going to get an overarching picture of what's happening, and that's told in the prologues. So every prologue that I come out with tells a story that's tied to what's happening, but it's not directly tied to a character yet. Which is why the prologue to Alone Together, it's a split prologue. Both elements are very important, and they are what's happening later in the series or around the globe. Same thing with book 2. It starts with 2 characters that are in the CIA, has nothing to do with the individual characters, but it's telling a bigger story of the outbreak and what's happening in the entire world and why the world is falling apart the way it is. Until you find out, later in the series, like how long things have actually been crumbling. Similar to COVID, I think a lot of people got ambushed with COVID that they're like, man, it came out at this time period, it spread really quick. And then, 6 months later, they're like, yeah, it actually existed about a year longer and we just didn't know. And there was governments covering it up. And this is all very real. And I wanted to make sure that was duplicated in that fashion without saying, hey, I'm making fun of COVID. Which, if you're wondering, yes, COVID exists in this book because the characters mention COVID. So there is no deviation of COVID didn't happen. So this is a surprise to everybody.
Right. Yeah.
And so you get the overarching story. And then I also tease, my last chapter always tells you a little bit of what's about to happen. So you get pulled in with more characters. Nice. I think book 1 is probably most memorable because if there's ever, it's not a flashback, but the chapter happens earlier in the book and you just have to accept that based off if you're paying attention. I only say that because I had one person come back and say, I felt like this chapter should have been up here. I'm like, yeah, but it would have made sense if I took that and put it in the middle of the book.
Right.
So wouldn't have worked out. You would have been very confused and it didn't make sense. So you get that portion of it. And then I'm going to go back to my short stories. It's been a thing since A Fold to Extinction that I write short stories that are in the same universe as my novels. For people that are really interested in it, there's never a question of, hey, why was something else happening? It's probably tied to moments. And there's even little moments that I'll give this away for people who want to hunt it down. You meet a new character in book 2, and he has a name tag that's not his name on his vest, and it's tied to a short story that he first shows up in. So, not diving super deep into it, but you can see I know that reference.
Wow, that's cool, man.
It's little things like that. So there are different elements of storytelling and world building. So is it a world building story like a fantasy novel? Absolutely not. It's not that level, but I make it feel very, very lived in with the characters and how they interact with the world.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. I have a character reader, so you got me pumped right now. And I love short stories and novellas set in there where you don't have to read them for the main story, but if you do, it just blows everything up. It makes it that much cooler. So that's awesome. Do you have on your website or somewhere like reading order if someone wanted to do all the short stories and figure out where they fall in it, or can you just kind of read them anytime?
So for Fold to Extinction and for Sinner's Pass, yes, on my website, I tell you which ones fall in order.
Very cool.
I don't do it for Alone Together because I don't want to ruin things in different parts. I have a short story that if you're really paying attention and because it's a weird short story in my opinion, because it's completely different than the others. It could give away too much of what happens in book 4 and book 5.
Okay.
But I don't think that if you went into it without knowing that, it would ruin anything for you. But when you if you read that story and you hit book 4 and 5, you're gonna be like, I know exactly what's about to happen now. So you get a little bit of a teaser, but nobody's gonna believe you.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. I like it. So then when would you recommend people read the short stories that you have out now for Alone Together?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to ruin anything whatsoever. The reason I put them out there, full transparency, is I don't want somebody who can't afford the hardcovers to feel like they're missing out on stories.
Yeah.
So the short stories that are in the hardcovers are free on my blog so that, you can buy the Kindle because you're like, hey, I want to read this story, but I don't want to spend whatever Barnes and Noble charges for a hardcover.
I know. Crazy.
It is what it is. And I also do periodic shorts on my my own podcast, Birds with Words, where I'll read a short story. So I did that for Sinner's Pass. I read A Hero's Downfall, and I even put sound effects into it and everything.
Oh, wow.
To make it a little bit more
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's the biggest thing, is sometimes I get fun as well.
You gotta have fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's I think at the end of the day we all want to turn our books into movies, but one day. I wouldn't say that if you read the short stories that right now you just went through and found everything that's hidden in there, you're not going to ruin a moment for yourself.
Okay. Sweet. So you just didn't want to do an order because some of it might not ruin, but it might let people know about stuff later. So you might as well just read it whenever you want to read it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it really just comes down to 1 or 2 short stories if you know where they're supposed to fall with the books, because the book hasn't been released yet, it tells too much. But if you read it without knowing the order, it doesn't matter. I'll say this: if you're really chronological, you can go ahead and just read the Last Stand series, because it bleeds into the first couple chapters of Alone Together, the first book.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Okay, very nice. Let's see, we got a couple people or a question here, but first I'm gonna shout out Shane Boyce, an other awesome reviewer. What's up, man? Thanks for being here. And also a Bearded Book Beast channel member, if you're wondering what that little sign next to his name is. Appreciate you, Shane. And then Curran, at first it said Jurassic Park was a huge inspiration for him too. No dinosaurs in his writing, but he earlier you had said you're thinking maybe 10 now. Originally you thought 8, but you're thinking 10 to tell the story of Alone Together, right?
I think the main story is probably going to be around 12 books.
Nice.
And if I see a lot of enthusiasm and people are really into the story, there's plenty of room for spinoffs. So, I mean, just the way that world exists, there's no limitation, especially since, book 1 starts in a very small city. I say small, Tallahassee is a medium-sized city, but
Right.
It's isolated. But by the time we get to book 2, the end of book 2 and into book 3, we're starting to get into other states in the south of the United States. And book 5 and onwards, I know, is going to encompass more of the country. So that entire element, just like with characters spread in so many different locations, there's plenty of areas that I can do spin-offs and characters that I can just dedicate stories to. But again, that's completely up to you guys on whether or not that happens.
That's cool. Grifkin is here. He said, stop the interview every time he answers this question, so he's adding books to it. That's good, though. We love it. Bring it on, man. But that's true. Like, even when you get a series like that, especially in this setting, like you said, it presents so many opportunities for spinoffs and more stories to be told in the same world. So that's pretty exciting.
It is. I mean, I mapped it out. And again, I didn't know early on how intensive series were versus writing an individual novel.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just came down to when I think it was around the end of book 2, book 3, I was like, man, I'm not even halfway to where I wanted to be yet. And I'm just going to have to double the amount that I originally anticipated.
Yeah.
And it's really because the story requires time to be put in between certain events, and you can't rush that. If if you have a book and all of a sudden it's like there's a 6 or 8 month gap, that's very unusual.
Oh yeah.
And for this type of story, it doesn't make sense to do those big time jumps like it would in an earlier set fantasy, like Game of Thrones. I didn't realize that the trip from one town to another was supposed to be like 4 months until somebody mentioned it. And I was like, okay, there was obviously a time jump there that I wasn't anticipating. A lot happens in time jumps like that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to switch gears a little. I got some writing process questions to ask you and pick your brain about. Curran had a question, and Curran, we'll get to this in a minute because that's actually my first question. But before I ask you that, I have a different question for you as a segue question. I do a question of the day on my channel every day. So I haven't put today's out yet, but I do. I'm going to ask you yesterday's because I want to hear what you say. So yesterday I asked, when everyone was a kid and they were trick-or-treating, when you're running around in your costume, what was your candy carrying preference? Did you use like one of those orange pumpkin buckets, a pillowcase, a plastic bag? What was your go-to to carry your candy?
When I was a little kid, I had no choice in it. It was just a plastic bag.
Yeah.
When I got older and I started making my own costumes, because that's a big hobby of mine.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Integrated it in my costume. So
no way.
Yeah, so I went as a UBCS operator, which if you're a Resident Evil fan, that's
heck yeah,
like Hunk or something like that.
Yeah,
I used the couches that were on my kit as it. So I upgraded my game a little bit once I had freedom to do what I wanted to do.
Dude, that's so cool. Oh man, that's awesome. You'll have to find some pictures and send them to me sometime. That's cool.
Absolutely.
All right, well then one more question before we get back into the writing stuff. What was your favorite Resident Evil game? So I was a big Resident Evil fan too.
I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 2.
Me too. Oh, so good.
I'm in a love-hate relationship with the remake of 2 because I feel like if you play just Leon's campaign, it is probably exactly the way I imagined it as a kid, just with modern graphics and modern gameplay. What I didn't like was they took away the A-B story method. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, when you played the original 2 and you played Claire had her own story and her own events that happened. Not so much in the remake.
I know, I did that too.
Yeah, there's a moment where like it just becomes the same campaign.
Same thing, yes. So I was like, what the heck? This is not the same thing. I know it was like 2 games in 1 back then. It was so cool.
I'll say that as a kid, if you would have asked me this before all the remakes, I probably would have said Resident Evil 3, just because it took everything that Resident Evil 2 did and made it a little better. And I think I have a bias because I got introduced to Resident Evil 3 because of Dino Crisis. And Dino Crisis was the game for me when it came to survival horror back as a kid.
I don't know why they have not remade that one yet or continued it on. Like, that was such a fun game, dude.
Well, I know that Dino Crisis 3 killed that franchise. I don't know why.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was terrible. I thought I actually, like about 2 weeks ago, I was like, was it as bad as I remember? So I watched a recap of somebody playing it, and when he was like, there's technical I'm like, oh yeah, no, I remember this now.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, not liking the third one, but that first one was something else. Like, never experienced something like that. It was so good.
Yeah,
there's it's Resident Evil with dinosaurs. It was so good.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're a big fan of Dino Crisis, A Full to Extinction, heavily influenced by Dino Crisis.
Ooh.
And there's Easter eggs in there. One of the characters is named after the character in there. So when you find that, you're like, hey, I know that.
Sweet. Well, add it to my list of books I need to buy from you.
There you go.
That's cool, dude. I didn't know that there was some Dino Crisis inspiration there.
I got to ask, do you do audiobooks?
I do.
Okay, I'll remember that. I got something for you at the end of this.
Ooh, all right, sweet. I love audiobooks. I do all the above. I do whatever I got to do to read some books, whatever you got to do to get it in. All right, so my first question was what Curran asked there. So on the spectrum of author, you have Pantser, who just sits down and goes and never outlines at all, versus Platter, who outlines everything. I know what you are already from comments you've made in other interviews with some of the Dark Veil Society members, but tell everybody where do you fall on that spectrum? Are you more towards Platter or Pantser, in the middle? Has it changed with the other books as you've written more books, or even different series?
It definitely has changed. A Full to Extinction, I was much more of a Pantser. I was never a full-on Pantser when I started, like when I actually started writing to publish, not just writing for myself. I was a Pantser completely up to that point. I was a big fan of NaNoWriMo before they became a weird organization.
Yeah. Early on, that was fun.
Yeah. So I used to really compete to do those, and I mean, I hit the objective every time I did it, but the stories just weren't there, and they. Again, if I looked back, it's easier for me to just completely rewrite it than it is for me to sit down and try and fix it at this point.
Yeah.
But Full to Extinction, I had a couple. I'd say it's more like I had elements that I just wanted to tie in. And I think, again, for my first novel and getting myself to actually commit to doing it, it works. It did it. And I'll never go back and change it. So I'm never going to do a re-release of A Full to Extinction because I feel like it shows you how different everything's been. But at the same time, because of that, because I know it's not my strongest writing, I don't push A Full to Extinction very heavily anymore. And, it just is what it is on that point.
Right.
It's, at the end of the day, that was a love letter to myself. So I'm thankful that it did as well as it did for a debut novel.
Yeah.
Sinner's Pass was complicated because I pulled in a lot of inspiration from a real world event that happened. And I wanted to tie it into a type of world that was more my type of horror, but was still paranormal. Again, I'm not a huge paranormal fan, so I have to have a level of reality that I can associate with for myself to enjoy it. And I'm not going to write something that I don't enjoy.
Right.
So if you're ever wondering if I'm one of those writers that writes to market, I don't. I write for myself. I just hope that I can find like-minded people that enjoy horror.
Yeah.
And when I wrote that out, it required me to take notes and make sure I was keeping things straight, because I needed to make sure that the background of characters matched. I never plotted out the plot though.
Okay.
The plot was its own thing because it's really linear. It's a dad looking for a son. Done.
Yeah.
There's where he goes from there and how he interacts was more what needed to happen for every character's storyline to be closed.
Oh, okay.
But with that, I started my, again, everybody's going to make fun of me, especially if we have a military background. I started my PowerPoint method, which is where the famous, death pile comes from, which is I outline all my characters, and when they die, I put them in the death pile. And Alone Together has a very thick death pile now. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
But that has helped me stay more in line with it. But I'll definitely say that I would not be able to write Alone Together without some level of plotting. Now, I'm not extremely detailed. I'm not one of those people who creates an outline and then writes the book from the outline, because things need to happen and shift and change, especially as I grow the characters. So I'd say I'm much more of a plotter now than I was back then, but it's more plotting out the characters and how their interactions and relationships tie together than it is the storyline, because I know what the storyline is going to be, and I don't need to write that down, because the end goal of the final book, I know where it's going, and I just need to get there. I'm not worried about B and C as I try and get to D eventually.
Yeah. Okay.
And my character, depending on how involved the character is, they get a different level of character sheet. So my primary protagonists and all my antagonists that are significant have very in-depth character sheets, which is surprising that I don't really go into descriptions of the characters, because that's for you, the reader, to decide what they look like. I give you general things and just kind of leave it to you to imagine. But their relationship, how they think, how they operate, and the history that put them into that position is far more important, especially for the story, than, this event has to happen in certain areas. Now, I'll say that I don't know if Julie, my editor, ever gets to watch this, but I leave her comments in sections, because I've picked up things that I know she doesn't like story-wise, and I'll highlight something, I'll leave a comment, I'm like, I know you're not going to like this. It has to happen.
It needs to stay in here. Yeah. That's awesome.
So, and I say this all because I just got the edits back for book 3. And she's been leaving me funny comments back saying, it's like, I'm not going to hate this. I'm like, I know what you don't like, though, at this point.
Right. That's awesome. It's cool that you have a good relationship like that with your editor too. That's cool that you can joke like that, and kind of, all right, she's going to say something about this, but I'm just going to let her know that it's important. It's staying in.
Oh, she's been phenomenal. Look, I've grown more as a writer with my new editor, and I picked her up after Center's Pass.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Than I did the entire time writing my first 2 books.
Wow.
I learned a lot from writing my first book, and I learned a lot from Center's Pass. So I don't want to ever discount the growth there.
Yeah.
But she was able to pick out things that I didn't realize I was doing. And I think it's made the storytelling much smoother and more believable. And, I'm going to tell my own horn here for a second. She said in my most recent manuscript, she goes, I can't believe the change between book 2 and book 3 of how well you paint scenes. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to hear.
Heck yeah. Well,
Tell me
yeah, that's awesome, dude. Congrats. Because coming from especially a technical mind like that, an editor, like they're really looking at it and digging in, and like for them to say that's awesome. That's good.
There's always a little ego to it, but like when you actually hear somebody that's not doing it just because they're a friend, I full disclosure, my wife reads everything the first time for me, and I know that she's being honest, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, but you're my wife.
You don't want to break me down too much. Yeah. That's cool, man. That is awesome. I love that. All right. So you mentioned how you allow room for things to change and shift. So have you had some pretty big shifts when you were writing where you thought it was going to go, or like for example, did a character who you didn't think was going to have a big role all of a sudden need a bigger role because you wrote them and you're like, oh wow, or like you wrote these characters, got to know them, and you're like, well, now I don't think they would do this. They're gonna have to do this instead. Or did somebody die that wasn't supposed to, or did somebody survive who was supposed to die? Have you had any things like that happen yet?
I think the closest that happens is the antagonist that becomes more prominent in book 2 to Alone Together. Solely because he's like, my titles are purposeful. And they do have a telling beyond things. So factions exists because I set up the factions that you're going to experience for the rest of the series. So it's very on the nose. Like, that's the reason why factions is there. Now, he is the introduction to a major faction, but that major faction doesn't revolve around him. He's just your introduction to them. So you can see like the brutality and everything else. And for a while, I was like, man, he should be the head honcho of this entire faction. But I was like, that does not make sense. And I sat down, and I'm friends with another writer, and I went through his experience as an undercover detective in Miami. And I just kind of broke down how real world organizations work. And that kind of shaped how I was going to create that. And I think it led into probably one of the most ominous chapters at the end of the second book, that when you get to see it, it's a little bit broader than you anticipated.
Ooh, nice. Okay. Get me piped. What the heck? Get me pumped. I was going to say hyped and pumped. You ever do that? And then you put them together?
Yeah.
Getting piped does not sound good at all.
I mean, hey, look, man, I'm not going to judge you. You know, some guys just have preferences. Okay.
I was going to say, we could say so many things right now. Oh man, I can't remember. I'll tell you. Never mind. The story I'm about to tell you, I'll tell you after this. I can't say that.
Now I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it was something that a friend slipped up and said, and it was just, oh man. All right. Anyway, all right, we got Mark from the Book Lounge just popped in. What's up, Mark? Thanks for being here. All right. So next question: you're hard at work on, or you're finishing up book 4. You said almost. So when you're working hard on a book, you want to get it done. Are you somebody that sets daily or weekly or monthly goals, or do you just write every day and you're like, I'll get it done? Like, or are you really specific about your writing goals?
No, I don't set goals anymore. And I think what it was is once I proved to myself I could break a certain large cap, it just didn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. And I do think the original Raimo Nano, when it was an organization for that, because time period, 50,000 words in a month was difficult. Now 50,000 words is just a section of a book for me.
Yeah.
Not that my books are extremely long. I know
right.
Smith Pass comes in at like 100,000.
Yeah.
Alone Together, if you don't count the short stories in the back, is like 85,000. So not like genre breaking.
Yeah.
They kind of fit in there. But no, I know where it needs to go. My biggest problem really just comes down to when I have other obligations happening in life and I feel guilty about not writing.
Yeah.
So I'm a dad for a beautiful little girl, and sometimes it's like I don't use my weekends to write because it's family time. And then you have other projects. I do neglect my other fun hobbies though because of it, because I paint models. When I'm putting my models together, I'm thinking I could be writing right now and actually doing something instead of creating this model dust on the shelf. So that sucks, but I don't worry about hitting something. I've also tried to reach out to find out if people even care about authors and their progress reports. And the overwhelming majority, surprisingly, don't really care aside from just like milestones. So, telling somebody that I wrote 40,000 words means absolutely nothing if 20,000 were going to get cut or changed.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So, no, I don't use the milestone tracker anymore. And it's just because I don't need the motivation to do it. And I don't say this to gloat over any of my writing friends.
Yeah.
I don't hit writer's block.
That's good.
If I do hit the closest I come to writer's block is sometimes I just can't get a scene to sound the way I want it to.
Right.
But I know what the scene is, and I know where it needs to go, and I know.
So
it's just trying to make it right. And I don't I don't skip scenes to come back to them. I make sure it sounds right before I move on to the next area.
Okay.
So sometimes that's painful.
Oh yeah.
Especially, I don't want to ever compare myself to major names out there, but I have a tendency to get very drawn into writing out technical things because I want you to understand what's going on, especially if you don't have a military background.
Right.
I'll try and explain this, but it bogs the story down when you do that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to go back and be like, this just needs to get cut out. So I'll say that if that bothers you, there's a little bit of that in Alone Together, the first book, but that's just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Assuming that my average reader hasn't served in the military or law enforcement. But after that, book 2 and onwards, it's really just, you might have an acronym that you have to look up, but it's 1 or 2, not like groundbreaking things.
You're right. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the flip side of that, when you are writing, are you a creature of habit? Do you like to write always in the morning or always at night? Or do you have a certain spot that you love to write? Or do you go somewhere to write? Or you just write anywhere? What about that? Right. I was going to say, you got a nice setup right here.
Yeah, surprisingly, this is not my actual computer. So I'm talking to you on my computer. I have 2 workstations set up here.
Yeah, nice.
And so I sit right here. I turn, this is my writing area, and that's my writing computer right there in front of me. I don't have a time period. I've caught myself writing before the gym. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Sometimes I come up here and I'll just move a scene forward, and then I'll go to the gym and I'll come back later in the afternoon and hit it. I would love to write at night, like later in the evening, but again, dad, little kid, and family time. I'm also the primary cook, so around 5 o'clock, I'm not writing anymore.
Yeah, you're busy.
But the few times I do get a day alone, it doesn't matter. I can sit down, write. I don't go any place to do it. I just do it here in my house.
That's perfect. All right. I think a little side note for a minute, because I do want to ask you about this. And Trinity mentioned she loves the backdrop on the screen behind you. So why don't you tell us what that is? Anybody that clicked to come in here, you might have noticed it next to Sean's head on our thumbnail. Why don't you tell us what that is back there?
Yeah, so I have my own logo. I'll move this down just a little bit so you can get slightly better look at it. But it's on all my social media. It's on my website. And it is a logo that I sketched up, and I wanted all the elements to represent me and something I do. So I'm primarily a horror author. So you get the skull representing the horror.
Yeah.
I do a lot of warfare type writing or conflict writing. So you get the crossed swords. You can't see it because the way it's cut off. At the bottom, there's a typewriter. So writer, pretty simple. Yeah. On the left side, that's also slightly cut off, is an atom, because I incorporate a lot of science fiction into my writing. So, a Fold to Extinction and Alone Together has some sci-fi elements to it. I'm a big fan of sci-fi as well. Then my personal attachments to it is served in the military. Went through and I ended my career as a commander in an infantry unit. So infantry units, their insignia is crossed muskets. So you get one of the muskets from it. I'm a big fan of the traditional ways of writing, especially when it comes down to just doing pen and paper a lot. So I have the quill in there. And then the crow, kind of tied into horror, but really what it comes down to is the idea that crows are world builders and world tellers, especially in some Native American folklore. And I thought that was just the perfect way, because I'm your bird, which is also where Birds with Words comes from. Crow on top.
Oh, dude, that's so cool. I mean, I love hearing how all that connects to you. But just at the very base level, that is a BA logo. I just love it, dude. It looks awesome. Like, that looks sweet, would look sweet on a hat and a t-shirt. So I hope you plan to merch that up, man. You got something with it on it?
I have a lot of stuff with my logo on it.
Good, because that looks
cool, myself man. Too. So I made myself a little coaster.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Yeah, burned it onto wood. I did
no way. That looks so cool.
I got a couple of those floating around. Instead of like having a business card, I have a little clear card that has my QR code on it and my logo. So if anybody ever wants to go to my website and just read the stories, you can scan it. And it works out a few times I get to do in-person events instead of
Oh, yeah.
Hey, go to my website. I can just give them that.
Give them that. Yeah.
My wife says people are going to go home and cut cocaine with it, but I don't care what you use it for as long as you visit my website.
As long as the original purpose happens, do whatever else you want with it.
Yeah. And then every now and then I do special giveaways. Now I haven't done one in a while, but I have little pens and in themed universes. So the people who won my Sinner's Pass, they got a in universe handwritten letter from me, along with a nice little fountain pen that had my logo printed all the way around it. Every now and then I do things like that with it, just to encourage people to be more interactive with me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Very cool. All right, I dig it. All right, so last question in the writing process space. When you are writing, are you someone that likes it to be quiet? Do you like background noise? Do you listen to music? Does it have to be non-lyrical, or can it have lyrics? What do you do when you're just in the zone writing? What do you like background to be like?
I guess it kind of depends on what type of writing I'm doing at the time period. Sometimes my writing is I'm working and then I think of something that needs to be, or how I'm going to move the scene forward. So I'll stop and I'll write, and I don't do anything in those moments. I just write the scene and I go back to work. If I'm sitting down and it's dedicated to writing, I do like to have music playing. I do have a writing playlist for me. Most of it is instrumental. I don't have anything against lyrics while I'm writing. It's just sometimes I want it to be themed for the moment that I'm writing, and that is probably more time consuming than anything, because like I built a playlist on Spotify for Alone Together, the first book, and every song correlates with a chapter. And I probably spent more time doing that than I did on some of the chapters, just because I was like, this is such a broad scene. How do you find one song that matches? That was a lot of fun at the same time. Again, on top of doing all these projects.
That's awesome. I love it. Very cool. All right, so we're already over an hour, man. This is flying by. It's been a blast. I know, it feels like that. So in a minute, I'll let you set it up though. We're gonna share something, and then I got a few things at the end, and then we'll wrap things up. But while I get it pulled up and ready to go, why don't you set the stage for what everybody's about to see?
Yes, I've already told everybody that I write short stories that are very in-universe to the stories. A part of this is I also like to make my own trailers, and I'm very particular about them now because of my experiences with my early novels. And I decided that not only can I make these trailers myself, I can also tell part of the story. So my trailers are short, they're tied to the story, and they are tied to moments in my stories. So what you're going to get a quick glimpse into is one of my 3 trailers that I've provided for my upcoming novel, Alone Together Factions. And there are little tales of what happens in the story in the trailer. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Ooh, here we go. Hopefully the audio will work. One time when I tried to do this, people couldn't hear the audio. So let us know if you can't hear anything. And it would not let me download this from our message. So luckily neither one of us say anything bad, but for like a split second, you guys will see my ex account and our message, but only for a second. All right, can you guys see the screen? Can you see it, Sean?
Sure can.
Okay, here we go. Hopefully the sound works. Let me make sure there wasn't anything I was supposed to hit with sound. Hold on. Okay, sound should be on. Here we go. Oh man, that's so sweet. I love it, dude. You did such a good job with that, man.
Thank you. I have a couple more coming out. So if you're like, oh, now I don't have to see them, you get more little teasers in different trailers that are going to come out.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going to do it for all the Alone Together books. I even have like a series recap once I hit book 4 that ties all the key moments together.
Ah, that's so cool. Trinity said so cool. Ellen said nice. Jeffrey Smith is here. What's up, Jeffrey? He said very good. Yeah, man, it's awesome. Well done. It got me hyped, not piped. Got me hyped. So yeah, dude, it's awesome. All the things that you are able to do, like just writing is awesome, but everything you do with the covers, with your logo, with music, with little giveaways, with your newsletter, and with the trailers, like you're killing it, dude. Just keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
You're rocking it out, man.
There's always that little like moment of like, am I doing it right? But
oh yeah,
keep trying, I guess.
Yep, keep trying. And you're in my lives a lot and comment on my things, and I appreciate that. And you're just good at being in the community, making connections, supporting other people, and like all that is going to pay off because you're an awesome dude. You're very talented in many areas. So just keep doing what you're doing, man, because just the book itself, I'm already pumped about. But it makes me even more excited because I've gotten to know you and just because you're an awesome dude. So just keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So before I go into my ending spiel, I'm going to give you the floor to shout out one more time anything you want to talk about. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I'm Sean Fitzgerald. I write as SS Fitzgerald. Just because we talked about community. So I do also host my own podcast, Birds with Words. I only post monthly, but if you ever want to show up, I interview authors. I let them read short stories that they select or prologues. I also do written interviews. So if you ever want to do, a little interview to meet yourself, put up on my website. With my website, if you ever want to find it, it's probably the best area to get a real recap of everything. It includes my blog that has all the short stories we talked about. ssfitzgerald.net. And if you're into it, I highly recommend subscribing to my Substack. I use it as my newsletter, and that's also where I do all my giveaways. And just because I got to say it, Alone Together has been my most successful individual book so far. I think people are really enjoying it, and book 2 comes out this Wednesday.
Yeah. Awesome stuff, man. And Sean's website and his books are all linked down below in the description. And I'm also going to throw the link for Crafty Bookstore for the signed copies that they sell through there. So go ahead and go down there, check everything out, support Sean. He's an awesome guy. He deserves it. And I mean, the book sounds awesome. You saw the trailer. You want to read it. But thanks, man, so much. This has been a blast. And I'd love to have you on again anytime. If you have something you need to shout out or whatever, like I always tell people, this is called Beast Friends Forever for a reason, because we are now Beast Friends Forever. So anytime you need anything, let me know, and I'd love to help you out.
Thanks, Chris. It's been great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. Everybody on replay, I appreciate you as well. We will see you in the next one. I'll be back with some more of these next week, so keep an eye out on the socials and on YouTube. But for now, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you in the next one. And until we do, devour your TBRs. Be brave, be beautiful to one another, and be beastly.